Tell me a story. I remember saying that a lot as a child. Growing up in the South means growing up with storytellers. It's just kind of in our blood. My father now never read stories to us, but he just made them up. He made them up on the spot when we kids asked for a story. And my grandfather, who grew up in Texas, told us stories about the Wild West, real stories based on his experiences and his reading of Zane Grey Westerns. And I grew up as a voracious reader. In the 3rd and 4th grades, I read Grimm's fairy tales. And if you have ever read them, the Genuine article, you know that they are really grim, really grim. They are really bloody and really gory. And the endings are not always happy either. But the stories are real, with all of the real human archetypes of life illustrated in living color. Now, this was a time in my life when our family was breaking down, and my childhood innocence needed to give way to a more complex view of reality, and fairy tales helped me to make that transition. Stories bring us gifts. They can help us escape for a while, to enter that world of imagination that compels and delights us. Stories give us vicarious experience. That is, we can feel and we can love and we can lose and we can triumph through the experiences of the characters in the story. Stories render meaning. They become the lens through which we understand who we are and what the world is like. Even our theology, I think, our sense of place in the universe comes from story, or how we frame our experience. That is, of course, what all art forms do. All art forms really frame experience. They take the chaos of our lives and integrate it or unify it or order it and make meaning out of it. Art, in fact, is perhaps what makes reality bearable. Our personal story and how we frame it makes all the difference in how we see ourselves and our vision of what is possible in the world. Now, with all this dark winter weather, I recently decided to read something a little more upbeat than my usual reading. I mean, as a personality, I can become terminally serious, especially when it rains for 3 weeks in a row. So it's not a good idea, I said to myself, to continually pore over books with titles like The Denial of Death, Dark Nights of the Soul, and Explaining Hitler. Yeah, this is the kind of thing I usually read for, bedtime reading. So I thought, it's time for a change. And so I decided to read Seabiscuit. I expect many of you have read Seabiscuit, or at least have seen the movie, and so you may know the story. It concerns a racehorse that no way should have been winning races. Now, this horse was ugly, not sleek and beautiful like other racehorses. He had knobby knees and a strange walk, and on top of all of this, he had a really nasty temper. And then there was his trainer, a talented man who had fallen on hard times and was about to go under, in fact, when he met Seabiscuit. And then there was the jockey, who was really too big to be a jockey. He was always trying to lose weight, and he was blind in one eye besides that. And he was only marginally successful before he met Seabiscuit. So 3 losers, in other words, got together, and they healed and redeemed one another. And Seabiscuit, with his great heart, became the fastest horse ever and inspired the whole country that at that time was going through the Great Depression. Now, why do we all love this story? Well, it's because, of course, we're all Seabiscuit. I mean, all of us. We look around, and we think, gee, all these other people are doing just fine. I'm the only one who's hurting and confused. I'm the only one with the knobby knees. I'm the only one who's different. But as a minister, I'm here to tell you that everyone has something to deal with. Everyone has his own version of knobby knees. Everyone has a piece of Seabiscuit in them. And of course, we love the story of this horse because it is a true story. It really happened. We all want to believe that redemption is possible, that healing can come, that we can win the race that life presents to us, that we can be brave enough and strong enough to go the course. We want to believe that love and patient care can see us through, as they did Seabiscuit, and as indeed they can for us as well. We know that just as stories can heal, stories can hurt. I'm referring now to personal stories, the stories that the culture tells us, or perhaps that our family has told us, and that we may now continue to tell ourselves. We may find ourselves living out of a story that is self-destructive, and we may need to reframe that story. Now, one way to think about this process is to understand that all our stories about ourselves, and for that matter, about anything, all our stories are constructed. They're constructed. That is to say, they are not real in any sense of the word. They are made up. They're made up. They're made up of what people have told us or reflected back to us. What is real is this moment that we are living. This moment, that's it. The past is a story, the future is a story, and none of that is real. The past is always selective memory and interpretation. And the future is a guess. And so the way we frame the past or cast our lot into the future can be shifted or changed or to some extent chosen. Sometimes that shift, though, requires a lot of intentionality, a lot of work on our part, because we may have internalized somebody else's bad story about us.